Good morning, everybody. My name is Rob Del Mastro with the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center out of Clark University. We're just going to wait one more minute to see if we can get a couple more people to join up. We had a few more sign up, so we'll give them a minute and then we'll get going. All right, looks like we got one more person connecting. We'll just wait until they're connected and then we'll get going. Two people still trying to connect. All right, so let's get going. So again, my name is Rob Del Mastro from the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center. For those of you who are unfamiliar with our organization, we're actually part of a nationwide group. We're funded in part by the federal government, our state, and a bunch of other sponsors. And our sole mission is to support small businesses in any way that we can. We're business advisors. All of our best part about us is all of our services are free. So if you know of any individuals who are starting a business, running a business, selling a business, and are looking for a little help, send them our way. We'd be more than happy to help them out. So today we're going to talk about cybersecurity. Given that it's October Cybersecurity Month, we thought it was a good idea to run this thing. I've never used polls before, so you guys are my guinea pigs. I'm gonna try a couple of polls today and see how it is. So our first poll is just to get an understanding of how you folks feel about cybersecurity in your business. So if you can answer that poll, that would be great. The format of today's is going to be, it's in two parts. The first part, we're going to talk about a particular framework, and it kind of gives you a framework around how you should be tackling cybersecurity for your business. And then the second part of it is kind of getting into, I won't call it technical, but talking about some of the technical aspects of cybersecurity, some stuff that I think would be really helpful for you to know. At any point in question, if you feel as though you have a question, throw it in the chat. Sarah Doran's here. She's with me here at Clark. And she's going to kind of be our moderator today. She'll interrupt me with questions. I do have a couple of breaks in there for questions, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's see. And the poll, we'll share the results. So it looks like everyone is pretty confident in their so we're done. All right. Okay, so let's now move on. So what, let's start at the core. What is a cyber attack? And the bottom line, it's unauthorized access to information or systems. And that's obviously a very broad statement, but in general, that's what a cyber attack is. Generally, cyber attacks come in through technology, but a cyber attack also could be attack on your building and physical access to your building to get access to information as well. So it doesn't all have to be via technology. The reality of it today is it's really not a question of if, it's more of a question of when you're attacked, are you prepared to address it? And unfortunately, that's just the way things are in today's world. We can put as many things in place to protect ourselves, but there's always another way for an attacker to get at us. So some key points here, criminals target businesses of all sizes. There's no such a thing as I'm too small to be attacked. The reality is many of these criminals get access to just blocks of emails and they just go after all of them, and they have no concept of how big your business is or not, but they just try to get at you as any way that they can. And the reality is a lot of them are trying to get access maybe to your contacts as well. So if you're a small business and you do business with a large bank, you know, that's a pathway to that bank for the cyber criminal. Unfortunately, people and email are the two weakest links, and those two go together with cybersecurity. We all are creative and curious people, and when we see an email, we feel a need to click on it. And often that's the gateway to being attacked in the cyber world. You know, one of the key questions as a business owner is how far do I go with cybersecurity, and how much money and time do I want to kind of spend on it? You can spend a lot of money on it. I've owned different businesses in my past. One of them was a tech company. We had 200 and something employees. We spent a lot of money on cybersecurity to protect our employees and to protect our clients. We did work with insurance companies, and we had access to their client information. So it was vital that we spent a lot of money on it. Another one of my businesses was a co-working space. So didn't spend anywhere near as much money on my co-working space. I ensured that my network, my Wi-Fi that I was providing to everyone was secure, but spent a lot of less money. So obviously the scale in which you apply cybersecurity is dependent on your business and really your finances, unfortunately. But the bottom line is a cyber attack can destroy your business. It has happened. It depends on what is attacked, how much information is let out. If it's your client's information, then you have a reputation that you have to protect. So a couple of things to think about. The last little bullet there, free is not your best option with cybersecurity. There are a lot of free stuff that's out there. I'm not a big fan of free, just because generally free is open domain information, and people can read it, can figure out how to hack it. If you're serious about protecting your business, you know, go out and spend the money to get stuff that's not necessarily free. All right, your takeaways from today's meeting. Really kind of getting an understanding of a framework that you can use to at least just start thinking about your business. What do you need to protect? How are you going to protect it? What do you do if you've been hacked? Things like that. So we'll go through a 5-point framework on how to deal with that. And I also want to cover just some high-level stuff on cybersecurity, like what is phishing? I think most of us now know what phishing is, but I want to go through that with you, talking about passwords, talking about ransomware, some technology that in terms that I'm sure you've heard, but I want to make sure you have a good understanding of what those are. All right, so that's the idea. I threw this slide in here because our world, between our private world and our business world, has really become fuzzy, especially, you know, since the pandemic. Most of us now have the ability to work from our homes. And I just wanted to point out, you really should be now considering your home part of your business, right? And anything that is connected to the internet, and if you're connected to that same network, there is now a pathway to attack you. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means you have to be conscious of these things now. And later on, when we get to the technical part, I'll talk about how to set up a network to kind of isolate things like your Alexa device or your Ring doorbell. You know, even our appliances today have access to the internet, and our cars do. I just got a new car and it has Wi-Fi access in it. So all of these things, we've got to be conscious of our business now, because if they're connected to the internet and you're connected to that same network, now there's an exposure, and we need to be conscious of that. It's just become much more relevant in our world today. There are many frameworks that are out there on how to address and deal with cybersecurity. Most of them come from different agencies of the government. Today, we're going to talk about this one, the National Institute of Standard and Technologies. I thought it was the most meaningful for small businesses. There is the CMMC accreditation body. If you're going to do work with the government, you actually have to go through that framework and be certified to work with them. Part of the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center, we actually have a group of individuals who specialize in that. So if that's something of interest to you, let us know and we can get you in touch with them. And then if you're a techie, the CISSP is a certification program for you to go through. It's a fairly rigorous process, but it's one of the highest designations you can get in the cybersecurity world as a technician. All right, so as I said, we're going to talk about this NIST framework. Really, there are 5 components to it: identify, protect, detect. Identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So at a high level, what does that mean? Identify is think about all the things that you have in your business that are potential candidates for exposure to cyber threats. Think about how you're going to protect those devices. Do you have means of even knowing if you have been hacked? What is your response plan? And then how do you recover from an attack? And we're going to kind of go through these one by one. There's a lot of information I'm going to throw at you here. I am going to provide you with these slides. I also have a handout from NIST that we're going to send out at the end as well, which kind of goes over all of these things. But from the identify perspective, okay, think about your business. Do you have HR records? Do you have employees? For the most part, if you're using a payroll company, all that information is stored with the payroll company, their I-9s, their W-4s that they have to fill out. All that stuff is generally online with those companies, and it's kind of their responsibility. But if you're old school and you've got paper, what are you doing with that paper? Is it protected? Is it locked up? Are you digitizing that, putting it on OneDrive, or on Google Drive? Well, guess what? Those are, if you're not using the business version of those things, those are not really kind of sanctioned to be used to protect PII. Think about, your credit cards. What software have you put your credit card information in? And are those systems protected? We all have our credit card, registered with Amazon because we buy stuff from Amazon. Well, that's a potential exposure. If Amazon gets hacked and gets access to your credit card, there's an exposure there. Something as simple as QuickBooks, great product, or any of these accounting softwares. Think about those, right? We put in all of our bank account information and our credit card information to those systems. And so what if you've got a weak password, username password combination for your QuickBooks? Now that's an access point for you. So think about all of the things in your business, your laptops, your phones. If you have a storefront, do you have a network in there, a Wi-Fi network or a hardwire network? Do you have cameras on your facility? Are your doors automatically locking at a certain point in the day? Do you have partners that you work with that may have access to certain information? Even a CPA who has access to your QuickBooks account. These are all things that you've got to think about as potential access to information that cyber threats go after. All right. Once you've identified all of those things, now you've got to start to think about how are you going to protect those things. So strong passwords, unique username passwords per account, probably the easiest and most effective way of protecting a lot of the things that we have. I have a whole section on passwords, and so we'll get to that a little bit later on. But encryption, right? I have a section on encryption as well, but your laptops all should be encrypted. So if by chance someone were to steal your laptop in an airport, or you leave it in your car unlocked, somebody grabs it, you should at least be encrypting that hard drive so that somebody can't get access to the information on it. Another way of protecting yourself is through cyber insurance. So we'll talk a little bit about cyber insurance later on, but that is a form of protection, kind of a blanket that you have there. If you've got, well, we all do, right? Have laptops and phones, make sure you're applying those security updates to them. They're out there because the companies have identified holes in their software, and they're providing you patches to block up those holes. So, I know some are reluctant to apply security updates. I know they're a pain in the neck because they always seem to happen right as you're trying to shut down your machine and on a rush out. Make sure they get applied. That's a good way of protecting your systems. Probably the hardest element of this framework is detect. How do you know you've been hacked? Well, if you've got a big ransomware sign in front of you, then you know you've been hacked. That's fairly straightforward. But you think about some of these larger organizations like Yahoo or TJ Maxx, or some of these bigger organizations that have been hacked. They don't actually even know they've been hacked until several months later. And it's usually after something's happened. Your friend calls you up and says, hey, do you know you're sending me spam emails? Or you get that notice from your credit card company saying fraudulent, activity has been detected. That's reactionary. Is there ways for you to identify that you've been hacked before bad stuff has happened? And for most of us, it's very difficult to do. We don't have the money or the tools to do that. I do offer a couple of suggestions here. I know when I ran my co-working space and I had external cameras on my facility, every night or every morning I would come in and, and I would check my logs for motion detected to see, was anybody casing my place? And to be honest with you, I did find on 2 different occasions. I was there for 5 years, and on 2 occasions, I had a group of individuals casing the place at night. I was able to call the police, tell them, share the videos with them. They came and then protected my building. So that's a means of me checking my logs and trying to identify a potential issue. What are the other things that you can do for your businesses to help protect that? A lot of some of the things, like virus software, or, you get instantaneous messages saying something's been blocked. So, that your means are at least protecting you. If you do get hacked, how do you respond? Do you have a plan in place for your business? If your machines get hacked and they go down, can you survive without your laptop? If you're a solopreneur and you've got one laptop and that laptop gets hacked, what's your plan of action to continue your business? Do you need to notify your customers if your customers' information has been hacked? You really should have a plan beforehand so that you're not responding to your customers in a panic state. You know exactly what you need to say to them, and you've got a plan in place to deal with that. Some particular cases, maybe you need to report it to law enforcement agencies. Depends on your business and what's been hacked. If you've got cyber insurance, now's the time to call your insurance company to let them know that you've been hacked. A lot of the policies actually pay for investigations of how you got hacked or responses. So, make sure that you call your cyber insurance company if you've been hacked. And then if you've got, if one of the things is backups and you need to restore a machine, especially in a ransomware attack, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now's the time to restore your backup, but have a plan in place on how to do that. Make sure you know how to do that. And then finally, recover. And so once you've been hacked, once you've addressed it and you've gotten back in shape, is there any kind of damage control that you need to do from your business's perspective? Do you have a tarnished reputation with your customers because their information has been hacked? The other thing that a lot of people don't think about is your employees. Has your employee information been hacked, or even how you as a business respond to that situation? Do you have a discussion with your employees? Let them know what happened. Let them know how you've addressed it. Just again, things to think about for your business as you kind of go through this process. And then bottom line, what did you learn from it? Is there a way of preventing what happened from happening again? So that was very quickly kind of going through this framework: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. It's, again, as a business, you really should be mentally going through all of these steps, writing them down if you like to keep notes and have an understanding, or contact someone if you don't know how to do some of this stuff. Find somebody who does, that can help you protect your information, and go from there. So this is a QR code to the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. If you scan that, you can actually get their handout, which kind of goes through what I did. I am going to, Sarah is going to actually send out these slides, so you have them after the presentation. And like I said, NIST puts together a really nice handout for you, kind of summarizing everything I said as well. Any questions at this point about this framework, about how you would apply it to your business? Everybody's silent. It's a rainy day. All right, I'm gonna trudge ahead.
Wait.
Oh wait, we have
Someone
something?
have a question?
Excuse me.
Yes.
This is True Love. Well, if you have a camera that you place on your facility, and probably you have a remote from your laptop or whatever, you monitor from there. So how do you check from time to time, whether, some people have been coming around it? Do you need to play back the, every day or in a couple of days to check whether the infiltrators, coming in, or intruders coming in there? And secondly,
okay, go ahead.
Sorry, my second question is that, does the law enforcement have right to come to you and say, oh, we are trying to investigate something happened, but it's not your facility, but we want to check your camera whether we can get a clue to what happened around your neighborhood? Can that be done?
Yeah, so I'll answer the second one first. And my answer is, I'm not an attorney, so I really don't know the answer to that question. If they have the right to get access to your cameras. That happened to me a couple of times when I was running a business, and there was an incident in the neighborhood. They came to me and said, hey, I'd love to see your video from this time to that time, to see if the particular individual came by your facility, which by chance he actually did. And we had a great shot of him from my camera. They didn't tell me that I had to do it. They just asked me if they could. So I don't want to sound like I know the answer to that question. I don't know if they're allowed to force you to show that information. As far as your camera goes, and checking, every system's different, so it's difficult for me to answer that question. If you're using something like Blink, which is really meant for residential, but I know many people who use them. Those cameras record whenever an activity has been detected, and it records that activity. So you would go back and review those things. The camera system I had on my business just continuously recorded, and it overwrote. I think I was able to maintain 1 week's worth of data, and then it just kept overwriting it. So every night I would go back and review through the night what happened. My system at least gave me an indication when motion was detected. So I would just fast forward to those sections and determine what was that motion, and was it anything I could be concerned with. And I mean, I was amazed at what happened to my facility during the night. There's a lot that went on, as crazy as that sounds. But so again, every camera system is different. I hope you don't, I mean, if you have to watch every minute of the night, it just isn't going to work, right?
Yes, I thought it would be too much. It's too much of
it'd be way too much. Like I said, my system I had, I was able to set it so that it put markers wherever it detected motion. And then I can just go check those markers. And, you know, it was about a 15-minute task each morning for me to go back and review those cameras and see what happened. And honestly, I didn't faithfully do it every night. I did it when I could.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, sure. All right, so now we're gonna each of these boxes kind of represents what we're gonna talk about. It's kind of getting into some of the components of cybersecurity. First, I want to go through this scenario. So, you know, I'm sure none of you do this, but using your same username and password for multiple accounts is a very dangerous thing. And here's an example why. Let's just say you've got a Yahoo account, Yahoo email account out there. Well, Yahoo's been hacked at least 6 times in the past 5 years. When they've been hacked, you know, your username, your password, and some other information that they capture about you, which isn't very much, is taken though. All right, so now they know your username and password to Yahoo. They read your email. They notice that you get bank statements from TD Bank. They flip over to TD Bank's website and they try the same username and password. If you use the same, they're into your bank account. A lot of times, all of us will put a slight variation on the password. They've got all kinds of tools that just try variations of the password and they're into your bank account. All right, I don't need to tell you what happens then if they have access to your bank account. They also read your email and see you have you get Amazon stuff. You order from Amazon. Go over to Amazon, same drill. Try the username, password, variations of the password. They get into Amazon. They notice you've got a credit card stored on Amazon. Well, everyone in their family is going to have a great Christmas because they've now just purchased a whole bunch of stuff, you know, courtesy of you and your credit card. As they go into each of these accounts, they lock you out. They change the password so you don't have access now to these accounts. Obviously, you're going to figure it out at some point, but try calling Amazon and trying to convince them that everything you just bought isn't you. So then you have to deal with your credit card company, and those people are actually very good about that process. But anyways, I just wanted to demonstrate a scenario. If you use a username, passwords, and passwords are just slight variations of them, man, you really kind of set yourself up for exposure. Just about every major corporation out there has been hacked, and your information has been taken. In a slide or two, I'll actually show you a place you can go to check to see if you've been hacked or not, or I should say where you've been hacked. All right. I'm going to give you a little quiz right now. I'm going to launch a poll, and if you can answer these 3 questions. Time to crack a password. So I've given you 3 examples of passwords, and I'm curious how long you think it takes a hacker to crack those passwords. Now, hackers have incredible tools of kind of going through passwords, generating passwords, combinations of passwords. I'm curious if you guys can answer these questions, what you think it takes. Come on, don't be shy. Come on, we need more than one of you to answer. All right. Five. What do we have for attendees?
I think we have 7 or 8.
Okay. So I think just about everybody has, and I'm going to share the results. All right. So the first password, which is just a series of numbers. How long does it take? It takes 1 second. So the one person who answered 1 second, you were absolutely right. The next one, which is a combination of uppercase, lowercase, I think it's about 10 characters. How long does that take? Takes 22 minutes to hack something like that. So a lot better than just numbers, and not too bad, but 22 minutes, pretty quick. The last one is a 15 character, uppercase, lowercase. I mean, really kind of the extreme password. How long does that usually take to crack? It actually takes 15 billion years, is what the current calculation is for something that complex. So if a hacker sees a password like that, or a password of that length, or if they know it's that length, but can't, like sometimes when they hack into these major systems, they can see the length, but they can't see the characters, or they're just trying to guess your password. You go with a password like that, you're not gonna get hacked. All right. So that's kind of a neat little thing. And then just a quick question I have for you guys on password managers. I did a full webinar on password managers, and I'll show you a QR code to that webinar. But I'm just curious if any of you use password managers, or how are you currently protecting your passwords? So if you can answer those polls, that'll be great. I know no one's going to answer the fourth one. All right. And if I share the results, so we've got 2 of you who are using password managers, good for you too. The rest of you with a piece of paper, probably not the best option. All right. So passwords. As I said, up here in the upper right-hand corner, if you actually scan that with your phone, you'll have access to the webinar I did on password managers. Spent a lot of time talking about them. I'm a firm believer in them. I've been using them for many, many years. It just takes the burden out of remembering passwords. Passwords, username and passwords are one of the biggest, weakest links for cybersecurity, right? Access to your online accounts. And if you don't take it seriously, and you don't start using, passwords like the one I showed you that takes, 15 billion years to crack, then you're really kind of setting yourself up to be hacked. I actually use, why not? I use a password manager. Mine are 20 characters long, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters. I would never in a million years remember any of them, but I have a password manager that remembers all of them for me. My database right now, my password manager has 772 accounts in it. If you start thinking about all of the things we log into between our phone and our computers, there's a lot of username password combinations out there. And if you're trying to remember things, you're not going to get as creative as you need to be to do that. So, I recommend at least up to 12 characters on your passwords, combinations of uppercase, lowercase, and special characters. Best thing to do is phrases. If you're not going to use a password manager, think of phrases and throw an exclamation point in the middle of it or at the end of it. Uppercase, lowercase letters. I've got a little bullet in here that says never save passwords to your browser account. That's what a lot of people do. Your browser just asks you, do you want to save it? Yeah, sure. I don't have to remember it now. The problem is what's happened with the browsers today is they now have us logging into browsers, right? So you see a little face up in the corner there. And the great thing is if I go from my laptop to my desktop or my work and I log into that browser with the same account, all my passwords are saved. Well, that's the problem now. If somebody were to hack into your browser account, they now have access to all your passwords to all of the things that you visit. And I'm uncomfortable with that concept. So again, I use a password manager to deal with that, and I never save my passwords to my browser. You can embed your password manager in your browser. And that's, one way of, so as you pull up a website, your password manager will respond. So the number one question I'm sure everyone thinks of is, are password managers secure? Bottom line is yes. If you buy a password manager from a reputable company, it is secure. Again, it is only as secure as your password to your password manager. If you use the same username password on your password manager as you do to your Yahoo account, you've just shot yourself in the foot. So that should be a very complex password to your password manager so that nobody can hack into that. All right, enough on passwords. It's been I spent an entire webinar on that. This is the site I was telling you about, haveibeenpawned.com. If you go to that website and put in your email, it'll come back and tell you where that email has been hacked. Because all of these private companies or public companies, if they've been hacked, they need to publicly report what's been hacked. I put in my personal email, my Yahoo account, and it came back with these 5 things that I had backed. And one of them is, one with the dog right there. That's Word with Friends. So there's my, my off of my phone, that particular account's been hacked. So that's always a good thing to try. We talked a little bit about physical security, so cybersecurity isn't always about in the ether. It's about physical objects like your laptop or your phone, or if you've got a file cabinet in your office that's stored, your employee information in there, your personnel files. You want to make sure that you've made all measures to protect that information. From a laptop's perspective, I'm going to talk a little bit about encryption. So making sure that the hard drive on your laptop's been encrypted. You're using complex passwords to get into your laptop, into your phone. Multi-factor authentication is becoming really popular. Many places are actually requiring it. That's when you get a message on your phone, where you got to key that message into the website to get in as a secondary authentication. Some sites use authenticator applications where you need to respond to that application, but those are all just multi-layers of protection that you can protect some of your physical devices like your laptop and your phone. USB drives, I don't know how many of us actually use those anymore, but if you do and you've got private information on those, you need to be obviously concerned where those things are. And then, of course, if any of us or all of us are on Wi-Fi networks, how are you protecting those Wi-Fi networks? On that note, I want to talk a little bit about networking and generally how we're set up in our homes. If you're from the Worcester area, all we have access to is Spectrum, a cable company. They drop a cable modem into our house, and either that modem provides Wi-Fi or we have our own Wi-Fi unit in the house. And then we all connect to that Wi-Fi stuff. And even our Ring doorbell, our Blink camera, and our Alexa devices, all of our plugs that we have, they're all connected to the same Wi-Fi unit. Again, going back to a comment I had made earlier, if you're connected to a network that another device is connected, if that device gets hacked, then there's a potential pathway to your machine. So take Ring, for example, the doorbell. When it first came out, it was hacked, I think, 3 times. And people were able to gain access to people's home networks through the Ring doorbell. Now, if your laptop is protected with virus software, with malware software or firewall, well, then they couldn't get to your laptop. But if you didn't, or your phone wasn't protected, then potentially there is a pathway to get access to your stuff. So, the reality, and this is more from a business perspective, if you have a storefront and you want to protect your internal network, you need to put what's called a firewall in there between your cable modem and all of your devices. The nice thing about firewalls is they allow you to separate out segments of networks. So you can have a unique network for your guests. When they log in, there's no connection to your corporate information. If you are using devices, smart devices, put them on their own network, so that if they do get hacked, again, there's no pathway to your guests or to your personal, your machines. And then there's a local network, which is what all of your company equipment is connected to. Firewalls are a bit complicated, a bit complex. You may want to hire someone to come in and do that for you if you're not comfortable with technology. They don't cost a lot of money. I used one in my co-working space that cost $200, $300 to do. It was a really nice one. It was by a company called Unify. I actually have a firewall in my house because I have over 30 devices in my house that are smart devices, and I don't want any of them to get hacked and then provide a pathway to my stuff. So I have a firewall in my house. I am a tech nerd, I'll give you that. My background is in technology and I spent 25 years in the field, but it's something to consider, something to think about. All right, so phishing. So phishing, I'm sure all of us have heard about at this point in time. That's when you get an email, it's sent by some devious person. They're trying to get you to click on something, which then opens up your computer to be hacked. All right. Some things to, so a lot of times they look very legitimate. They look like they come from your bank, or they look like they come from Amazon. I tell you, these hackers are getting very creative in how they do things. Things to look for, misspellings. Oftentimes they come from overseas, so their English isn't great. And so if the wording seems a little odd, then probably it might be something to consider. Hover over the to field, because it may say support at Amazon.com, but if you hover over it, you'll actually reveal who the actual sender is, and it's like Joe52 at yahoo.com. Probably not then coming from Amazon. I've got an example of an actual email that came to my wife, this one on the left here. It was from Chase, saying that they have identified a regular activity, and they wanted me to click on the link to secure my account. Yeah, right. So if you notice up at the top, it's sent from popo0178 at vmi.com.np. Well, I'm pretty sure that Chase wouldn't want Popo to be sending me an email under his personal account. So that's my first indication. As I highlight the secure account, it's a shortened URL, which again, to me is a bit suspicious. There's a break in the line here. So this to me screams to be a phishing email trying to get me to click on something. And when you click on that, a lot of times, like in this particular case, it's Chase. It takes you to a website that looks just like Chase. And if I had a Chase account, I would put in my username and password. They have these have devices that actually record what you type. Now they have your username and password, and they go in and they use that, and they get access to your accounts that way. And that's how a phishing email kind of works. Vishing with a V, that's when you get them on your cell phones. So not only did she get an email from Chase, she got a text message from Chase saying, hey, you need to click here to recovery needed is what you got. The funny thing about all of this is we don't have a Chase account. So it was kind of odd. That was like our #1 indicator that this was a phishing email, but something to consider. Unfortunately, this is one of the most common ways people get hacked. They don't think, they read an email, they don't really pay attention to it, they click on it, and then bad stuff starts to happen at that point. If you have employees, training your employees about this is vital, because if they, same thing, they click on something, They now have exposed their laptop. Sometimes when you click on these things, some software is installed locally. Once it's installed locally, they can remote control, take control of your PC. And again, bad stuff happens. So unfortunately, phishing emails in humans, this is the most common access to most cybersecurity threats. Okay, I talked a little bit about data encryption. The whole concept with data encryption is when you type something, so if I type a social security number, when I encrypt it, it actually looks like this to the person who tries to hack your hard drive and look at that information. But then when you need to go use it, a key is applied and it's unencrypted. Both Microsoft and Apple provide free encryption software for your laptops. Microsoft, it's called BitLocker. Apple, it's called FileVault. The reason I suggest this for your laptops is pretty simple. If you don't encrypt your hard drive on your laptop and that laptop is stolen, again, you leave it in your car, someone breaks into your car, takes it. All they have to do is pop that hard drive out of your laptop, pop it into their machine as a secondary drive, and they have full access to your hard drive, all the information that's stored on it. So if you've got anything personal on your hard drive, they now have access to that. If you actually encrypt your hard drive and they try that, when they plug it into the machine, it's unreadable. They can't get access to any of your information, and it just isn't worth their effort to try to unencrypt it to try to get it to work. So it's free software. It has little to no impact on your machine. You might as well encrypt your hard drives on your machines if you've got, especially if you have a laptop. All right. Ransomware. My guess is most of us have heard about ransomware. You get that I'll go back to that. You get this message when you turn on your machine. Somebody has taken control of your machine and they basically say, pay me money or you're going to lose your machine. A couple of different levels on that. Sometimes what they do is they just lock your machine and you don't have access to it, and they've encrypted your hard drive, so it's not like you can take that hard drive out, put it in another machine and use it. They've changed it in a way that it is now garbage for you unless you pay them money, and you hope that once you pay them, they send you a key to unencrypt it. The other is, we've been hearing them on the news, where hackers not only take control of your machine, but your machine now has access to other things within your facility, and they now can control other devices within your network. We heard that a couple times. Situations like that happen on the news. Again, the most common pathway to this is somebody clicked on an email and it enabled them, the ransomware people, access to your machine to get in and to take control of your machine. So, to me, it always keeps going back to those, to email and to people. Sometimes it happens on a website. If you go to a website that is questionable, potentially there's access to your machine once you've gone to that website. A whole bunch of different ways that they can get at you. So countermeasures: have a plan in place, back up your data on a regular basis. I know that sounds old school, but in a case of a ransomware, it is often faster and cheaper to just throw away the machine that's been attacked and spawn a new machine and restore from a backup. I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of times that is the quickest and fastest way to get back up and going again. And it depends on how many units have been hacked and what they have access to. But I'm a big fan of backing up my PC. And for those that think that, you use Google Drive or OneDrive or anything like that, yes, if you can log on to any machine, you do have access to the information that you've stored there. So that is a good thing, as a means of backing up yourself if you put everything that you own on those devices. But just remember, if somebody's gotten hold of your PC, they now have access to that information as well. So you have to question, have they done anything to your Google Drive, to your OneDrive, to your Dropbox that may just cause it to happen all over again. So I'm, paranoid. I back up. I actually back up my OneDrive, even though it's, syncing back and forth between Microsoft and me. Back up my Dropbox. So I have some software on my PC that every night backs up files that have changed. And so that if ever I were to get hacked, I can just restore everything as it was prior to the hack. Stuff to think about. Tech support scam. So these are real things. I have many scenarios and situations I could tell you where I've seen this happen. A message pops up on your Windows machine that says, we've detected a problem with your machine. Click here to call customer support. You click on that button. Someone on the other end says, hello, this is Rob from Microsoft. We happen to notice that some of your files have been corrupted. If you just download this software here, we can get onto your machine and we can fix the problem for you. I know it sounds crazy. I can, like I said, I know of several situations where people were just busy with their day. They just didn't think about it. They allowed it to happen. Next thing you know, their whole machine's been taken over, or somebody sold you some software that you didn't need because they told you is the only way you can clean your machine. So tech support scams are really, they're real, and they happen. You just have to be very cautious about anything like that pops up on your screen. If it does, call the company directly. Don't click on the button. If you get a message from your bank saying, there's been a fraud, we've detected fraud, I don't ever click on the buttons that are provided. I call the company directly on a number I know is the right number, and ask them, is there anything wrong with my account? If there really is fraud, they're going to know it and they're going to tell me. So these tech support scams that are out there, they're real. And I've seen them happen. I talked a little bit about cyber insurance. It's relatively new. It's probably been around for a couple of years at this point. And I've listed some of the things that it does cover. It all depends on your business. If you need cyber insurance and or what the cost is. Cost is highly tied to what exposures you have, what information of your clients are you retaining. So it's well worth a call to an insurance agent and ask, hey, what would cyber insurance cost for my business and what does it cover? And again, depending on your business, it may be worthwhile you looking into and getting. As I said in the first slide, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when are you hacked. So this is a possible plan to have in place for when you get hacked. One real quick thing on websites. For the most part, we all use reputable places like a Squarespace, a Wix, or a Shopify, or what are some of the other ones that are out there? Just make sure you're using a reputable website. I have a couple of clients that have come to me and said, oh, my nephew created the website for me, and he's running the website out of a server in his basement. Really bad idea. Unless your nephew is a tech guy and has got a couple of firewalls protecting his server, probably not a good idea. What hackers do is they get into your website, they embed things in the background. So when visitors come to your website, those machines then become corrupt if they're unprotected. One little quick word on here on WordPress. A lot of folks use WordPress websites. They're great sites. You can do incredible things with them. I've got nothing against them. It's just WordPress is based on using plugins. Just make sure that the plugins that you use are coming from reputable businesses. If it's a plugin that some third person, overseas wrote, you don't really understand what code is put in there, especially if you're using it as a plugin to collect payment information. Just make sure you're always using reputable plugins on your WordPress site. All right. Remote access. VPNs are kind of hard to explain what they are. Think of them as your own highway on the internet. If you create a VPN between you and say your office, so a lot of businesses require to use a VPN to get to their office. It's like a private channel that you have between your PC and their facility. It's for the most part impenetrable by hackers. Everything that goes over the line between you and your office is protected. Again, think of it like a private highway. There are some software out there for using it on your PC in general to access the internet. I honestly don't know a lot about that stuff. I have never used them. Some people will tell you they're the best thing to use. I'm just putting it out here as something to consider, something to think about. But like I said, a lot of businesses today are requiring VPNs to connect into their, if you want to get assets physically in the building, say access to a printer or file share servers that they've got, you're going to be required to use a VPN, and that creates that private channel. It protects you from hackers. I have a little comment here. Overall good policy, never connect to public Wi-Fi's. Any Wi-Fi system out there, whether you need a password to get to it or not, if you have a password to get to it, doesn't necessarily mean it's secure. You don't know how that particular business set up that Wi-Fi, if they've blocked access from machine to machine or not. It's just with 5G now coming out, our cellular signals are almost getting to the point where they are just as fast as private Wi-Fi's or public Wi-Fi's. Generally, public Wi-Fi's are pretty slow because of the number of people on them. I always spawn our phones are all capable of hotspots. I always spawn a hotspot off my phone and connect my laptop to it, and that's how I get to the internet with my laptop. I don't ever use public Wi-Fi anymore. I'm just very, very leery of it. It's just a precaution that I take at this point. And like I said, I've got 5G on my phone. I tend to never have issues with speed just using my cellular signal. Again, I'm paranoid, so just want to put that out there. I put on here again, free is not your best option. Virus software, VPN software. If it's free, I just question who's created it. Why is it free? Is it really as secure as they say it is? One comment I'll make on virus software. So, 20 years ago, virus software was the #1 thing to protect yourself from getting hacked. There are many who will tell you today virus software is not needed. I'm in the camp of, for $100, I can protect up to 10 machines with a license to virus software. Why not? For $100, it provides that layer of security for me. The prices have come way down on them. They allow you to protect multiple machines, and they no longer kind of choke your machine. 20 years ago, when you install virus software, they just killed your machines. Our machines weren't strong enough to really handle what they were doing. With today's technology, you surely don't really notice that anymore. Windows does come with Defender, which is a type of a virus software, malware software. It's a matter of choice. Again, how much time and effort do you want to put towards protecting your business, protecting your devices? How much money do you want to spend on it? All decisions you have to make as a business owner. All right, so we have just hit the 1 hour mark. How's that for timing? Are there any questions that people have or comments that they want to make? I put up a QR code up there to Tech Talks with Rob. I'll just plug that. Every first Thursday of the month at noontime, I have a Tech Talks with Rob. It's an open forum. I don't prepare anything, but I just ask folks come in with questions, and I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. So if you have questions about this, a lot of times I do get cybersecurity questions on my Tech Talks. So if you're interested, every first Thursday of the month, you can go to techtalkswithrob.com, and there's more information there. Sarah, what do you got for us?
I just dropped in the chat a quick, and I do mean quick, I think there's 4 questions, a survey, if you all would not mind just clicking on it and filling it out. It helps us to determine how well Mr. Del Mastro did and what topics you might like to talk about or hear about in the future. So if you wouldn't mind just clicking the link in the chat, I would appreciate it.
And if any of you are interested in becoming clients of the Small Business Center, kind of right there where my thumb is, there's a QR code to actually register with us. But you can go to msbdc.org and sign up there for registration with us as well. Again, we're business coaches. All of our services are 100% free, and everything you tell us is confidential. We don't share your information with anybody. So I thank you all for joining us. If you've got questions, I'm more than happy to stay on. If not, everybody have a good rest of Tuesday.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, for your Tech Talk with Rob on first Thursday of the month, can you please send us a quick reminder on probably on Wednesdays before the Tech Talk, so that would be prepared and join you on the talk?
Okay. Yeah, Sarah does send out a reminder usually before the couple of days before the Tech Talks, and then the morning of. So as I'm sure she'll put you on our list.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You have done a great job. You know.
Well, thank you very much.
You know, this is very, very informative. I hope you guys will send us
we'll send you the slides
of the presentation.
Sure. And there's a lot here. I went through stuff really quick, and I apologize for that, but I wanted to try to get through all of it, if nothing else, to get you start thinking about this and asking questions.
Yeah, but it taught me a lot today.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any more questions out there? All right, then. Thank you all very much. And